Guess who's late? Fired.
Enrique. Yeah.
We're back.
Oh, crap. We are?
Sorry about that.
All right. I'm bored.
How you doing?
You were doing this dance thing. Like I thought you were trying to get me to do like the say-in merge because I don't want to merge with you, bro. That would be... Yeah.
Come on, two fatties merge. Come on.
Oh, dude, it's going to be like when they mess up and they always turn into that little fat slob guy.
That guy.
Yeah. Which guy? That one?
That one. That one.
Here? This way?
That one. No.
There?
Right.
I don't know. Apparently, we're pointing Skype because he got technical now. You're able to do shit.
Just a little bit.
Sweet.
So, how you doing?
How am I doing? That's a big question. People always like ask me something, and that's my answer. It's like that's a very big question, and it's my sort of BS way of getting out of just like really thinking about myself because I'm a guy who's like kind of on autopilot all the time, man. And I realize that as much as I can talk about stuff, I also don't talk a lot.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
And so like when people ask me something, I find myself like trying to find either the quickest way to get out of that interaction, the simplest answer, or sometimes I think, man, maybe I need to try. And then I overdo it. So I'm just an awkward dude. So how am I doing? That's how I'm doing.
You're still on work mode, aren't you?
Yeah, really. We were supposed to start like half an hour ago. Dude, like this is the end of the year stuff. So I'm doing reviews for my teacher's aides. I'm writing 4 IEPs because we're coming to the end of the school year. I'm also having to do a speech for one of my students who's graduating. And then of course just always the day-to-day stuff, preparing work. Dude, it never ends. You think that my day would end at 3:30, and instead I'm still there like trying to squeeze out every minute before I leave, and I would have probably stayed there till like 7:00 tonight if I didn't have this obligation. So,
hey, we're an obligation. Hey,
I don't mean it like that. Obligation in the sense that this is something that needs to get done that I want to do.
Where's my alimony?
Where's your alimony? Alimony, like that word, it's a funny word.
Gosh.
It sounds like a deli meat. You want some mayo and mustard on that alimony sandwich?
Yeah, you're traumatized. I'll just stay quiet.
Well, am I though? Because
No, just kidding.
I don't pay alimony, but I do pay child support, but not through the state. I just send money.
Yeah, that's good. You're a good dad.
But maybe because I've been told by skeptical people. And I don't think it's that me and my ex is like we're cool, but they say, well, hey, they could change their mind, and like when they're like 17, then they can file, and then you would have to pay all the back tax, the back version of it, and even though I have proof that I paid because I do it through like Venmo and PayPal, so I have like receipts and stuff, but apparently I could still get screwed. I don't know. It's a weird world, man.
Adulthood.
Weird world, many smells.
Anything new at work?
No. I mean, what
let me clear it up. I'm talking like oogie boogie.
Oh,
like
are you asking if I've seen ghosts at work? Really?
Have you seen anything creepy happen?
I had a student like come into my class today because we do on Thursdays these things we call Shark Bites Cafe, where it's the idea is that we like the kids throughout the school earn points, which we call case cash, and then they can spend it on different things.
Yeah, you mentioned that last episode. Yeah.
Oh, did I? Okay, yeah. Cool. And so in this case, we do this cafe and we make fresh food and whatnot. And anyways, today that was the day, and one of the students comes in and they're like, "Guess what?" And I'm what? And she's like, today was my day to shine. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I saw a ghost. And I'm like, wait, what? She goes, it wasn't a ghost. It was like, the lights were flickering in the hallway, but then I made my way downstairs and the lights flickered down there as well. Like it's following me. And I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, this is an old building.
Yeah. The
faulty wiring.
Yeah.
But then again, so I don't know. I mean, there's that. And then of course there's like the voices that I hear when I go there on like in the night when I drop off stuff.
The voices in your head.
No, they're real voices. Yeah, the hallways get dark at 10 o'clock and I'm like leaving and I hear like, hey, come here. That's what I hear.
That's not right.
I've heard that twice. I think last week I was I went back after picking up some stuff from the store to go drop it off. And it wasn't 10. It was more like, it was probably like around 9 o'clock at night because, And as I was leaving down the stairs, I heard from upstairs, I'm like, hey.
Jeez.
And then I was like, I'm not turning around. Jesus, I reject thee through the power of Christ.
Wait, you reject Jesus?
Well, there's a comma in my sentence.
Oh.
That's why I paused.
Oh,
Jesus, because that's me like screaming the name out loud. Comma, I reject thee. Obviously that sentence is very incorrect.
It should be, I reject thee in the name of Jesus. But whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even know that I believe in Jesus.
And now my co-host is possessed.
Yeah, sure. I'm pointing right here because this is where I'm kidding. I don't know what the hell we're doing.
So here we are. He's just pointing at nothing. So here we are again at Undercity. Thank you to the nerds for allowing us to use their studio again. Thank you for Undercity for hosting us again.
Yeah.
But do us a favor. Crank that AC because Jesus Christ.
It's not so bad right now. Right now it feels okay. But I'm guessing you came from either super AC'd or it's been just hot and you're just still feeling it.
It was 78, 79 and now it's barely kicking in.
Yeah.
But it's like, ish.
So,
plus I'm setting up and everything by myself. My son's not with me today, so it was kind of like a lot of stuff to do.
As I understand it, on the weekend we had one of the hottest days of the year. I think we reached out here in Southern California around like triple digits.
110.
Yeah,
in some places.
So I went on this past Saturday to go to a festival called Just Like Heaven. And I've been excited for this thing for months. I mean, I paid a lot of money for these tickets. I think something like $400 or $500 for 2 tickets.
What the?
Well, the thing about it is it's a festival. So I'm paying for all the bands that I'm watching. So I was excited because I was going to see Wild Nothing, amazing group. They have, I recommend Wild Nothing. They have a song called Sleight of Hand, which I absolutely adore. Also one called Chinatown, I think is what it's called. It's really cool. And just in general, their whole album catalog is great. Anyways, so Wild Nothing, Peter Bjorn and John, the ones that do the one what is it? What is that show with Kat Dennings?
Two Broke Girls?
That's the one. All the incidental music and they did that song. Also, another band I was excited for was to watch Block Party, Vampire Weekend, and Vampire Weekend, and Empire of the Sun. There you go. Now, anyways, long story short, I had to leave early, and the reason why was because of how hot it was. For the first time ever, like I've never had this issue where my body would overheat or anything, but I started to feel it. It started with like shortness of breath, where while the music was playing, I could feel it like beating in my heart, and I'm thinking like, oh, cool, it's beating in my heart. No, it's like the kind where you can't kind of breathe a little bit. Sure. So I was sweating a lot. I was drinking lots of water. We went and sat down somewhere, me and my sister, and I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, well, this is really comfortable. I think I'm gonna be all right. About 30-40 minutes passed by, and I start getting the worst leg cramps I've ever had in my life, and they lasted for almost 2 hours on and off. So I like maybe 35-40 minutes into these leg cramps, I told my sister, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't think we can stay. This is killing me. I mean, I was doing the whole thing where you get up and you're like stretching and dude, it's just not abating. Like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, where your leg gets stuck like this and you're trying to kind of sort of press down to make it flat. It just wasn't happening, guy.
Damn.
Anyways, we make our way across the field, and I'm feeling my legs locking up, and dude, at some point I'm really starting to think, am I gonna make it home? So we make our way by the road, because we were at the Rose Bowl. Find this little alcove. I sit down. I'm drinking tons of water. My sister's doing a great job taking care of me, just giving me water, and she's saying, hey, just chill out, dude. Now I'm about an hour and 15 minutes into this ordeal, and it's just not getting better, and I'm trying everything I can to sort of find that position where your legs can relax.
That sucks.
Still not happening, dude. So finally it kind of calms down just enough so that we can slowly make our way back to the car, and the whole drive home on the car, same thing, dude. Finally, and here's the punchline. I've realized and found this out, that when you got leg cramps, one of the things that you can do to make it go away quickly is having pickle juice. Yeah. Believe it or not, if you get a leg cramp, as I understand it, I mean, scientifically it's proven, right? There's a lot of, home remedies. One of them is mustard. If you eat mustard, it's supposed to help. And for example, ice hockey players will tape mustard packets on their board. And when they get leg cramps because of being on the ice and the cold or whatever, they eat some of that, and it's supposed to help them with relaxing the muscles. Okay, but that one doesn't really have science, like backing, but there's a lot of anecdotal stuff. However, the pickle juice one does have it's been tested in several different settings, and for the most part, it's been found to work. Now, obviously, some people might be resistant to it, but my experience so far with me personally, other friends that have done it, it works like a charm. So I get a pickle at 7-Eleven. Dude, the second I have that, man, the leg muscles start to relax, and I'm good. But here's the thing, though, because I know the joke's coming. Let it out of your system, Angel. Let it out.
Enrique loves pickles.
I do actually like pickles a lot. They're really good.
He tickles my pickle.
Okay, I never ever I deny your claim. There is no pickles that have been tickled that are anywhere near you, sir. You dirty man. Anyways, I spent the rest of the week, right? Sunday, Monday, with just the worst sore legs. I couldn't get out of bed. So, but I ended up going to work anyways on Monday and just suffered through it. And it wasn't until maybe yesterday where I started feeling normal.
The release.
Just the release of the soreness. Even now I have my calves are still somewhat sore, but I can walk, I can jog a little bit. So I'm fine. But anyways, pickles, guys, believe me, you get cramps, eat a pickle juice. It works.
I could have used that earlier because I have this, from the car accident a couple years back. I'm damaged on my right side, and I woke up, my whole groin, leg, butt, arm, everything it hurts, man.
Yeah.
I've been walking like a hunchback, master, like Igor kind of thing all day because it's been pain, dude. It barely started going away about 2 hours ago, but I still feel it.
You know what? Either way, when you get home or on your way home, pick up from 7-Eleven, get yourself a pickle. Shut up, dude. Seriously, man, it works. And honestly, you don't like the way pickles taste.
I like pickles, but in moderation.
Sure.
I'm not a big pickle. Like you know how people go out and buy fried pickles or the little pickles in the little juice pouch.
The little gherkins or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
I like a couple of slices in my burger or relish or with some pickles on it and stuff. Good times. But for me to sit there and be like, I'm craving a pickle, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm the opposite. I don't want to say that I love pickles, but I do enjoy them. I can buy myself like a jar of it, and every now and then I'll have one, and it's good. But now even more so.
I've got one for you. What's a food that you like that everyone who hears you say it is like that rare food that no one likes, that you think you're one of the only people that enjoy it, and everyone else will be like, "What the heck, ew."
Dude, honestly, I'm pretty kind of. I don't want to use I'm autistic because people use that so generally the way people say I'm OCD and I'm ADHD about, but I am an odd individual in the sense that I like my foods to be somewhat basic. I spent years just eating chicken parms from the same place or whatever. I get stuck in that mode, and
I do too.
Like burgers.
That's my wife. She gets mad at me for months. I'll be eating just one thing nonstop, and then I'll get it on my system, and then I'll move on to the new flavor of the month, and then that's what I'll be eating nonstop.
Right.
She gets mad about that, but I've always been that way. When I was younger, though, I used to have a thing where I couldn't eat outside food. It has to be home food. Like if I would go to your house and you would offer me food, I'd have to oh, no, thank you. I'm not, even if I was starving. And then when I get home, I would have my food, but the food couldn't touch.
Sure.
And I don't know why.
No, that's definitely that is more so like a sensory thing. I don't want to label it like an autistic trait. It's thrown around too often nowadays, but it's definitely a sensory trait where you instinctively know that if certain things kind of mix, it gives you sort of makes you kind of reject it in some way. So that is a common thing amongst a bunch of people, particularly in our generation, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a kind of sensory sort of thing, and it might be because we grew up eating foods like that were like, think of our school lunches.
Oh, everything was compartmentalized. Yeah.
And so who knows? I don't know, man.
I love school lunches though.
Oh, me too.
At the old school one. I miss the old rectangular pizzas with the little nubs of so good.
Good stuff.
Or the sloppy joes from school. I miss sloppy joes from school.
Sloppy joes from school. So here's the thing: I hate like current school lunches. Like when it comes to like burgers, or whatever.
What do they have now?
Well, same stuff, dude. But here's the problem: is I mean, not. I shouldn't call it a problem because honestly, it's all well intentioned. There's very strict codes as to what is the nutritional value of the stuff that you serve. Mm-hmm. So if you serve hamburgers, when we were young, we would get them like on regular hamburger buns, and they were delicious.
Yeah.
But my experience so far at most of the schools that I've worked at, the buns are like a kind of wheat like bread kind of one, and they've also they limit the calories, and also they infuse more vitamins into it, or at least some nutritional stuff, and because of it there's a kind of distinctive taste to them that I just don't enjoy it. I just end up not enjoying. Same thing with their pastas, and they're like if you get like, for example, chicken fingers, or I guess we call them nuggets. Like even the breading they use for that, there's just some very distinctive flavor to it that is not, in my opinion, isn't very good. I don't enjoy it. But
now I know that one of the larger companies that do luncheons for school is Gold Star.
Yeah,
I know for a fact, and I know they've gotten some slack lately for not giving good standards in their food. I don't know if that's improved since, but I mean, I last time I dealt with Gold Star was in 2020 when COVID started, and they wanted me to go do some cleaning of their facilities. I don't know if this is the same companies that were before, or it's like new companies, but nowadays I hear from my kids what they eat, and like a lot of it is like pre-wrapped. I don't know if it's Gold Star anymore, because it's like my son brought home a bean and cheese burrito. There's like the microwave type, and that's what they're getting for lunch.
So so certain stuff like that is prepackaged, but even those have very specific nutritional values that they have to make. So if they get something that's branded, and sometimes we've gotten branded stuff, they're specifically made for schools.
Yeah,
by that branded company.
Yeah. They're not normal.
As far as Gold Star, I don't know if Gold Star does it, but we do. Like our vendor where I work is a specific vendor, and they prepare that food, and then we go pick it up like in those, I guess those catering bags, those red and blue catering bags that are insulated. Yeah. And we bring them in, and then we separate them. And we don't reheat them. They're already warm. Oh, okay. We pick them up every day from the place, so they've already been prepared that day. So they're made that day, or maybe they reheated it. I don't know. Who knows? The point is it comes already warm for us. It's already hot, and we can serve it. Although lately the food's gotten a little bit better, so I don't know. I have a feeling that school lunches are tiered based on what schools pay for, which seems very insidious. Now, did I say insidious? I meant insidious.
Insidious.
So, dude, have you seen like pictures from other schools of foods that they serve? Like, dude, particularly schools up north that are much better funded. Man, they get buffets, and their food are incredible. So yeah, there is a disparity, guys.
They still get tater tots.
We get tater tots. It's just, again,
not the same.
They come in a little white canister.
Oh man, seriously?
Yeah, but they're made.
So when you eat lunch at school, like you eat what they eat, or you eat like separate?
No, I buy my own.
You buy your own?
I always, dude.
You don't purchase their lunch?
No, we don't. So all the lunches are provided for free at our school for the students. I mean, that's just how it goes. Most since our school's a SPED school, it comes with all of like that stuff already included for them. As far as us, I mean, do I sometimes partake of the kids' lunches because there's extras? Of course, yeah. I mean, because here's
you heard it here, folks. Get them.
Well, here's what you should actually be like, worried about is that I think like any other school, there's food waste because there's kids who just don't eat or opt out, and so there's a lot of food that gets wasted, and because of the regulations as I understand them, you can't put them in a refrigerator and save it for later. You shouldn't. You're discouraged from it. If a school really wants to, they can enforce it where they make you just throw it away. On our case, we do throw a lot of it away, but sometimes I'll keep a few, and I'm stuff that I know is gonna last a few days, like fruits and stuff like that, but they want you to get rid of everything. There's a lot of food waste. If somebody went around and picked up this like extra food, man, honestly, we could feed a lot of homeless shelters.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and this is around a bunch of schools.
Why don't you just take them to the homeless shelters? I don't know. Politics. I'm not gonna
you know what? I know actually. I think part of the reason why is on one hand, there's a ready-made excuse not to do it, which is the regulations. So that's an easy one to fall back on. But I think for personal levels, like I'm not going to do it because it would take a lot of my time and man work, and I already have a lot of stuff that I have to do. So if the school organized something to do, of course I'd be down for it. It'd be great. But school isn't going to do that either, again, because of the regulations. So the answer then comes back is that nobody does it. That's why.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Lots of food waste. But to answer your initial question about what food I eat that people think is weird, when I was a kid, I used to eat like sandwiches with just mayonnaise in them. Now, I don't get me wrong. I wasn't just globbing mayonnaise and I'd make a little thin layer, and then I would eat it. But it had to be white bread, like Wonder Bread or something. Yeah. And I'd like to smush it because I like the texture, the smushiness. It was nice. I did like that.
I think I've tried that. I think I do like that.
Yeah.
Of course, you've done the Dorito bologna.
Oh yeah. I
discovered that in Mexicali, and I was like, oh my god, I was obsessed with those for a while.
When I was I used to get Big Macs and put like the fries inside the Big Mac.
My wife does that to this day. She does that. Whenever we go to McDonald's and she gets her cheeseburgers or a Big Mac, she always stuffs them with the fries.
Oh.
Same thing with the sausage McMuffin. She puts the hash brown in it. And I started doing it because of her, and I'm like, oh my god, how come I never thought about this? Freaking delicious.
Yeah. One of the weird ones that I've seen is people dipping their fries in the milkshake. I mean,
yeah, that's been around for a while. I don't get that one. I don't like that.
So what I do, I mean, it's such a basic thing. Is if I have ketchup, I want to get a lot of pepper. And put it inside the ketchup and swirl it around. I like that sweet and savory kind of taste that it does. And so, dipping fries or whatever in it is, I think it's amazing. I love it.
I like barbecue sauce instead of ketchup with my fries. But in film school, there was a gentleman, a classmate of mine named Nestor Soicas from Romania, who told me that in Romania they don't eat ketchup. They don't use ketchup. They use mayonnaise with pepper. So he taught me that we went to Fat Burger, and then he brought out the mayonnaise, bit a big glob, got the little packets of pepper, sprinkled it in, mixed it. Oh my god, dude, it's so good.
Wow,
it is. I highly recommend it. Mustard with pepper.
I'll try it out
together.
Wait, is it mustard or mayonnaise?
I mean mayonnaise. I'm sorry, mayonnaise. I don't know why I said mustard.
Mayonnaise and pepper. Okay,
Ugh,
okay.
Mustard and pepper.
Well, that kind of strangely sounds like what you would call a remoulade. I think it's what, and a remoulade is what.
I think it is similar to that, yeah.
Well, just part of, because I think there's more to it. Like, so think of Raising Cane's, which is it's an East Coast kind of chain of chicken. It's amazing, but they've started opening up in the West Coast a lot more.
Oh, there's a lot now here.
People love that, and it's great. Well, you can get this their sauce, and it's very creamy and somewhat peppery in a way, and so I think that's a remoulade. I would think it's what it is, and so dude, I'm gonna try that though. Mayonnaise and pepper.
It's really good. It's really good. He globbed that thing on. I was like, wow. Yeah. Especially with like steak fries, like thick fries.
Right.
Well, there's so many fries. Like honestly, there's crisp cut. There's tater. There's regular. There's
the two fat guys talking about food, eh? And to be fair, I haven't had lunch today because I've been working all day. So there you go.
I had a leftover pretzel pizza from Little Caesars we had at the house
that
I ordered for the kids.
No, I in the morning always go. Good. I got a coffee, and this was like at 7 in the morning, dude. I went to the Starbucks and got a coffee, and then they they have like those food offerings. And I think it was it's like a burrito with egg, cheese, and sausage.
Yeah, I used to have that. It's okay.
It's honestly, it's super basic. It doesn't have any kind of really distinctive flavor to it that I ended up just putting tapatio sauce. By the way, tapatio sauce, here in Southern California is great. I think up north they do something called Cholula, which is similar, but not exactly the same.
Cholula here.
Yeah, well, of course.
There's Valentin, there's Cholula.
All of that's here, but what I'm saying... But what I'm saying though, Angel, hear me out, is that their popularity. Okay, if you go up north to most places, you will only see Cholula if they have Tapatio. And some places do have it. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist there.
Yeah.
But what
It's
I
just
am
not
saying is
popular.
that it's Cholula that is what's popular.
Okay.
Down here, Tapatio is popular. And you can see Cholula. It's like, for example, you go to IHOP, you get both options. They're right there. But generally speaking, what you see here is Tapatio. And Tapatio is because it's a southern California brand, even though it comes from like Jalisco, as I understand it, which is in Mexico. The guy who created it was from Jalisco, and he brought it over here, and he opened up I guess he opened up a supermarket initially here, and then he started making the sauce there, and then that's what took over. That's what became his big seller. And so Tapatio exists here, and now I think it's all over America, but it's in some places more than others. You know?
I pronounce it the patio.
Oh gosh. Well, Tapatio refers to like if you look at the bottle, I mean, I don't know if you're going to put it up here, but if you look at the bottle, the guy the guy in the picture is he's a traditional Mexican guy with a big sombrero. I believe he's referred to, like, that particular guy's referred to as a tapatio, which refers to maybe some job he does. I don't know. I mean, if only I had some
magical way of getting information. I don't know. Let's see.
Where is the tapatio? Apparently I can't type fast enough. What is a
I give up.
tapatio? There it is. Boom. Okay, so tapatio refers to both the nickname of people from Guadalajara. There you go. So if you're from Guadalajara, which is the largest city, or one of the larger cities in Guadalajara. It's a large city in Jalisco, which is actually where my kid is from, and they're called tapatios there. So that makes sense. So the guy
Tapatio.
If you look again, the bottle guy, there he is. He's a tapatio. So they're referring to the guy who comes from Guadalajara.
And Valentin is from, if I remember, she's like a warrior from I think Pancho Villa days or something like that. That's where the name for the Valentin salsa comes from. Valentina, that big one that they use with chips and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember, that someone told me that, or I probably got it wrong.
Actually, the funny thing is, it also comes from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Guadalajara. Have you ever heard Elvis sing that song?
No, never. That's interesting.
You guys look it up. I can't do audio because royalties. But check it out. Elvis Presley, Guadalajara. It's like, I love Elvis, but that is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, okay, so
I use it for torture.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Wasn't Elvis kind of racist? I mean, most people in the 50s,
he's from the
60s,
South. He's from Memphis. I mean,
most of them were. I mean, he hung out with black people and stuff, so he wasn't necessarily racist in that regard.
I wouldn't say racist. I think
nationalistic.
He's more of an ignorant kind of.
I'm going to be more. I guess I'll be more kinder and in deference to the time, because back in the 40s, 50s, I mean, there was always an inherent sort of like isolationistic belief that everybody kind of grew up in, and because of that, a lot of their prejudices came from that. So I would assume that Elvis was a guy who he obviously was very open to black culture, because he sung music from black culture, and he appropriated it and made it something amazing. And that's fine, no complaints there. But when it came to people from outside of the country, he did have, as I understand it, some very big opinions about it. So I wonder what's
did. But I mean, I know he did a lot of movies based in Mexico. He did movies of Hawaii. So I mean, he was in those areas. But I mean, he never did a world tour because Colonel Sanders, Colonel Parker was an illegal immigrant who did not want to leave the country, because if he did, he had the chance of getting deported. So he tricked Elvis into telling him, "No, son, you don't have to travel. Just stay here." So he never did a world tour, sadly.
It's interesting. I love, like, I'm gonna flip change the subject a little bit, but it's because of this Elvis thing, because I looked up the Elvis thing, and I'll get back to that. But there was this article that I just recently saw that talks about how people are using AI now based on their generation. So for example, people like myself and Angel, our generation, we essentially use AI the way we use Google or Wikipedia in order to validate or look up information, while younger generation use AI to ask life questions. Like they actually want AI to solve problems for them, which I think is a very interesting thing. The reason I brought this up is because Elvis, like I asked a question about, was Elvis racist? And I loved, that the AI overview that Google gives you is really, really helpful because it aggregates all this information. Mind you, you should always do your own research, double check, but I like that it gives you references and it gives you links so you can see it. So when it comes to AI, I'm not still, I'm not in that place right now where I'm so afraid of it that it's going to take over the world. I know we've had podcasts in the past where we talked about like sort of the inherent fears of it, but I still think that as long as we use it as a tool, it could make our lives somewhat better, because I like how it cuts through the noise and it gives you just very, very simple summaries of things. I personally dig it.
You're a tool.
Yeah. There we go again. This guy.
No. But no, I you know what's funny? We looked up the same thing. So just, say what it says there.
Yeah. So basically, the question about Elvis, was he racist?
Yeah.
There's a common misconception that Elvis Presley was racist, but evidence suggests otherwise. And while growing up in the segregated South, he disregarded racial barriers and had close relationships with African American artists and individuals, which I believe we did already kind of concede. Mm-hmm. He publicly acknowledged the black roots of rock and roll and gave credit to black artists who inspired him. So that, which is great to hear. Yeah. I know that I said appropriation. Maybe I should take that back and just say that he was inspired from it and he made it popular, mind you, at a time when unfortunately lots of black artists were not being given the proper acknowledgement for the music they did. And so maybe that's more where the contention comes. Anyways, he says many black artists at the time praised him for opening doors for black music to gain mainstream success, which also makes sense. At the time, there would be more appreciation. The fact that they were listening on the radio and hearing music that, and by they I mean, the black population was listening to radio and hearing their style of music being represented, and I imagine that was exciting for them. We're now looking back, we add value to it and think like, okay, well, he was appropriating, which is a common thing people do.
Which brings me to the next point. If you want to know more about that subject of Elvis Presley, did he appropriate and all that, there's a great documentary from 2018 that HBO made called Elvis Presley, The Searcher. That's right there.
Interesting.
So it actually shows a lot where he got all his inspiration and how he built his sound. It's actually pretty good. You should check it out.
I will. Yeah, that sounds greght.
Yeah, Elvis Presley, The Searcher. Again, there it is.
Cool. So, going back to just overall AI thing, because I mean, as a teacher, I've been trying to find ways to use it, and just the inevitability of it now. I mean, we're living in it now, right? It's not like, oh, when it comes, it's here. There was this thing that I saw about how teachers have to sort of embrace the fact that students are going to use AI in order to write subjects. But I think what is now the recommendation, and what actually should be our, and by ours, I mean the teaching population, what should be our goal now then is to embrace the fact that that's going to happen, and then challenge kids to show us what they know in new different ways. So one of the examples that was given to me in this great video that I saw was like, okay, so if a kid writes an essay and they use AI in order to get it, that's great. So then the next case is then to challenge them to take the AI written essay and for them to respond to it in their own words against it, so that you're teaching them to do counterpoint, and you're teaching them also to argue and debate, and more importantly, you're teaching them to be open-minded, because anybody can be fed like a fact, but what's difficult is you ask them to take the opposing view, like force them to do it, even if they disagree with it, or totally agree with it. Take the opposing view, and it helps critical thinking skills. And so AI, if teachers embrace it that way, I think it's going to do wonders for the lack of critical thinking that we see just across the board in our society today, which has led to a lot of issues that I feel we're dealing with.
But don't you think that that's not going to be allowed to be used in that form? Because right now certain administrations, they want to limit certain thought processes, and they want to basically dumb everything down for everyone.
I think the real thing that's happening is people are oh, that sounded weird. It sort of like it muted me. Anyways, So yeah, the way that administrations are treating AI, they're treating it as like it's the enemy, right? And it's bad. I think largely everyone's pushing back against it, but it's like any sort of new technology. There's always going to be a fear to it, and then there's going to be a response to it, or a reaction. And so we're all being reactionary to it, in the same way that people like the music industry reacted to the coming of digital music, MP3s and whatnot. Rather than embrace it. And jump on board and turn it into something that they could market or whatever, really own it. There were many flashpoints from the late 90s when digital music started becoming more like the idea of it was floating around, and it was becoming more probable that it was going to happen. Rather than to find ways to work with it, they tried to stop it every step of the way, and that's what's happening with AI. Yeah. So yes, everyone's they're trying to dumb it down, but I don't think it's necessarily because they're trying to dumb people down so that they not have more avenues of learning. Although maybe that is part of it. I don't know. I think that. Whoa. Sorry about that. Nice. I think that what happens. I think that what needs to happen. You should answer the call. No, I'm not going to do that. I think what needs to happen over time is you see, it made me lose my train of thought. Thanks, bro. No, jumping on that one. Star White. Anyways, AI is cool. Let me piggyback on your idea about AI. This is a conversation that I was just having coincidentally with my wife this morning. How we were talking about how I was noticing that. Sorry, Isaac, I know you're not here, but I noticed that his handwriting is horrendous. It's like really bad. Wow. But it's not just him, because I started thinking, I'm like, well, my oldest godson, who's now in his mid-20s, also the last time I saw it was like when he was 18, 19. He has really bad handwriting. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, all my other kids, they're younger. They're 10, 8, and 6. But, the 6-year-old has the best handwriting out of all 4. I don't know if that's something to do with the fact that they're not teaching cursive in school anymore. I mean, my handwriting is horrendous, but it's because I shorthand everything and, mm-hmm. whatever. But if I do, cursive, it's a little more decent, and at least it's more eligible, readable than other kids are, and other people. But I did notice, I was talking to my wife, and they said that nowadays everything is done through either a Chromebook or a tablet. All their homework is done that. If they have to do the research, they do it on there, they write it up, and then they send it out, and that's it, they're done. So they don't actually do the pen and paper much anymore. So is that something that also affects your school? Or? Yeah. So, okay. My school's special education. So most of my kiddos have trouble writing in general. So it's an issue. But okay, the first part, you're right when you say that we don't, or at least they didn't for a long time. They weren't teaching handwriting, and mind you, when you're like my whole background in education prior to education was child development. That's where my bachelor lies. And so part of the thing about child development is you look at the development of people, in this case kids, but later on people in terms of achieving sort of milestones and sort of all the theories that go into developing a fully formed human over time, and all the steps that it takes to get there. And there are certain junctions in which things need to happen. Mm-hmm. For example, the whole writing thing. I mean, think about like the dexterity that it requires to write as well as type. Yeah. So when it comes to writing, repetition is everything, because you're creating a sort of like pathway in your brain and a recognition of how you write. And writing, in block letters, is not as difficult as writing in cursive, right? And so what happens is our I believe it's a fine motor skills. Our fine motor skills are not as developed because of it. And we went through this phase where people were not being taught how to handwrite. Right. Although recently, as I understand it, that it past 8-9 years, maybe 10 years, it's come back in mode. So it's possible. You said that your 6-year-old writes better than all your other kids, and that actually might be because he's being taught how to handwrite. Yeah. So that's definitely one aspect of it. The other part, sure. And everything is done through the computer, particularly if you're an older kid. When you're writing essays, when you're, doing research, and you're taking notes, kids are doing it on a computer. They're doing it on their phone. They're essentially learning how to do this, tap, 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 instead of, scroll, right?
Right.
And so, yes, I think that the consequence of that is your older kids are probably not going to be better at penmanship. Yeah. I can tell you for me, and you obviously, you say your writing is bad. When I was younger, my writing was bad. In fact, my signature is crap. I have a terrible signature. However, when I write and I write it in handwriting, it actually, I've gotten better over the years. Where before in high school, I was really sloppy. And I can look back at old writings that I've done because I used to I fancy myself a lyricist because band or whatever. I have these really difficult to read script, and even now if I write too fast, it's pretty messy. But when I sit down and take the time, it's very nice, and I feel like a lot of it is because I learned how to write in cursive. And when I do write now, when I write it, even though I'm writing just regular writing, some of my letters will come out the way you would cursive. So I always do the bubbly E as opposed to the line for my E, for my E's and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, funny, in high school I had better handwriting than I do now because now I just don't have patience and I write as quick as possible and I don't care. Back then I would take my time and go slowly, but now for I have this little notepad, and if you can see here, I have writing from a job that I was at, but I do shorthand so I can know what it is, headfirst panel. And I'm just really quick because I'm always writing like a journalist really quick.
Yeah. And
I can understand it, but then, I have to go back and rewrite it if I give it to somebody else.
That's cool. Is this something you've always done? With a little note? This is cool, man.
Yeah, I've always had little moleskin.
I used to always want to be this guy who had one of these. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I've always carried them. I've had different kind, but moleskin is my favorite.
Yeah.
So this is what I usually write with.
Well, everybody nowadays now just uses their phone. You ask your phone to take notes for you.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not. I agreed.
This has saved me so many times, and.
But physical media, like physical writing, all of it has a place. But we're so excited for new stuff that we end up just throwing it out. And so right now on the way here, I heard a headline from NPR saying that there's been a rise in people buying cassettes.
Oh yeah.
And so right now cassettes are on the rise.
Why?
Exactly. Now, okay. So hear me out, man. Obviously, we grew up in the time when records and cassettes were just the only option.
Right.
And then 8-tracks, of course.
8-tracks.
Mind you, those were completely gone by the...
Leftovers from the past, but I still have a few, yeah.
And then, CDs came around in the late 80s, and it was exciting. One of the first CDs I ever heard was Def Leppard's Hysteria, and I love that album, and one of my all-time favorites, but that's how it was.
Mine was 3. Mine was The Cure Mixed Up, Metallica Kill 'Em All, and I forgot the third one, but those are the first ones I had.
For me it's Hysteria, and then later on I think was
Aerosmith Pump.
Yeah, no. The second one was Rio, Duran Duran's album Rio, and anyways, so we had cassettes. Of course, I had cassettes, and then growing up, how many times did we make mixtapes? Recording music off the radio. That whole thing where you hitting record.
That was the beginning of this podcast.
So here's the thing, I think the real question that they should have been asking is how much is nostalgia driving those sales? Because it's
100% nostalgia because the cassettes were the worst.
Suck.
They were the worst sounding. Now records, I understand. Records still sound, I think, the best. I'm not like an audiophile when it comes to them, but something about the record, the sound of a record with a clean needle will outperform a CD, will outperform an MP3 because there's something more deep.
They transmit music very differently.
Yeah.
Okay. So a stylus on the needle of a record player, picks up music and it adds a deep layer. It's not a high fidelity. What it does instead is it boxes music in a way where it sounds beautiful. And then when you have a good mix of it where you separate the stereo sound left to right, and then you have where you pan between both, on a record, it's so pronounced. Now on CD, what you have instead is the highs and it's crisp and clear. But I mean, just like a picture, something that's too detailed looks uglier than something that has a slightly bit of gradients of color and light, and even a little bit of corrosion. It's just something of, I mean, why do you think we like filters? I mean, there are people who use filters on pictures to make themselves look pretty, but really when people use filters, what they're doing is trying to remove some of the perfections or like the fidelity in order to make it look pretty.
Yeah. 100%.
And records do that. They do that. They add a layer to music that is just nice.
Now, cassettes, on the other hand, good luck, kids. We grew up on cassettes. They are a nightmare. They'll be fun at first. Look, this is new. It's kitsch, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, I'm having fun. But first of all, always carry a fucking pencil with you. Trust me on that one.
Yeah, you're going to get the cassette. You're going to put the pencil inside the thing.
Let them find out. Let them find out how. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. This is on you. You're going to find out. And second, after a couple of plays, guess what? That magnetic tape inside the cassette, because that is magnetic tape, it will start flying and have fun with that one, Pickle.
So I think that maybe technology is a little bit better. Here's the thing. The way we listen to music is different from the way the rich people listen to music, even back in the day.
Well, yeah.
Because, I mean, what it was about was, it wasn't the medium itself. It was all of the equipment that you would own in order to up that medium, to make it just sound beautiful. And records, you can have a record and have like the output speakers, and it's going to sound beautiful, right? It's going to sound great. However, if you have the record player and you have the receiver, and then you have maybe like a subwoofer to it, and then you have you have the speakers, and then suddenly you're playing with something very different, in which the sound that you produce through it is incredible. And there is something to that. Now, when it comes to cassettes, I believe it's the same thing. Like, we would listen to cassettes on a Walkman. It's basically a little square box, kind of like a Game Boy size thing.
Or a boombox.
Yeah, or a boombox. And so, I mean, we were hearing it, and it would sound okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can pop in a cassette that's clean and fresh, and you can hear something that's very, very nice. However, pretty quickly over time, you're going to get the garbling that he was talking about, like where the the ribbon inside the cassette starts to tear, dust gets in there, and it just starts to become very odd sounding. But something that was satisfying about all of that, beyond the pencil thing that he talked about, is also, I used to love taking the cassettes apart and fixing the little pieces. I felt like such an engineer, dude.
The little spools and putting them back together.
Yeah. Or when you would Frankenstein a cassette, because, like, for example, something was wrong with the case, then you would take the case apart and put it into a new one, and there was just something kind of fun about all that.
Well, I think the most fun part for me would be the mixtapes. That was the most fun for me. Getting a cassette and just going and recording. Oh, I want Def Leppard here. I want Guns N' Roses next, and after that, and then I don't know. I want some Madonna because I'm feeling kind of frisky.
I feel like what's happened, nostalgia is fully in gear. Right? Okay, so about 15 years ago, like let's say from 2000 and maybe 2008 up until just recently, so maybe it's a little longer, people were super nostalgic for the 80s. And in the 80s, records were still king, even though CDs were kind of coming in, and cassettes were still very much in mode.
Right.
But people became very nostalgic for records, and records kind of became like the default. And then suddenly everybody was buying records. So now records are everywhere, right? But just like anything else, over time, nostalgia kicks in for something else. Everyone's nostalgic for the 90s now, like full on like 90s nostalgia, with some like messing about with the 2000s.
Well,
right?
Like we said on the last episode, K-Earth is now 80s, and 2000, early 2000s nostalgia. So that's nostalgia now.
One of the big parts of nostalgia was people constantly talking about how making a mixtape for somebody was the ultimate sort of sign of, or love language, right? And we can attest for this, because I can't tell you how many times I would put together like this really great mixtape for, a girl that I liked. I'd be like, oh, these are the songs you got, the Pet Shop Boys here, and Duran Duran here, and a little Metallica there, and some Crowded House here. But it was perfect. What's that on High Fidelity? Like making making a mixtape is a delicate thing. You know, your highs and your lows, and you have to, you know, you're basically using somebody else's poetry to tell somebody how you feel, right? It's a delicate thing. That's high fidelity. Anyways, dude, that's kind of what people are nostalgic for. That I feel like that's what's happening with cassettes. Everyone's thinking like, oh yeah, but they're gonna find really fast that you can do the same thing on a playlist on Spotify. The issue though is that at least what the article or the news report was trying to equate it to is that it's physical media in general. People value physical media because it's valuable, and you have something physical to go with it, and therefore you own it. And there's all this talk with, by the way, we've been talking about this crap for like how many years when Steam came out, like the owning of your games and the owning of your media, and how messed up it is that you really don't own it.
Not anymore, no.
Everyone now is like wise to it. At least they're becoming more wise to it because how
they want to get it back. Well,
Netflix takes things away, Amazon takes things away.
Spotify, like, Apple Music.
You're like,
there's a soundtrack that I was trying to listen to the other day. What was it? Fright Night. It's not there no more.
Oh yeah,
they just took it away.
Chipmunk Adventure from the 80s. You can't listen to it on Spotify. That pisses me off. I love that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Same thing with oh gosh. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. You can
name a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Now, it is funny because they went from the nostalgia from records, and the records have a comeback now that there's actual record shops now. It's a whole thing. Now, because they're trying to do the same thing with cassettes, I think they should just jump over cassettes and they should go to the mini DV. Do you remember that one?
Oh, God, yeah, of course I
do. That lasted a minute.
No, it never really took off here. No? Now, in Japan, on the other hand,
it took off.
Oh, it stayed around up until like the late 2000s, like 2008.
2008,
so it was very popular there. Very, very popular. For us, didn't do anything.
Yeah, it was a blip.
Oh, we basically adopted MP3s pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, first, I think what was a good transition was they had the MP3, the CDs where you can actually put like 20 albums onto a CD.
Yeah.
So that became very popular. I remember that a lot of people, like I had a few for Pink Floyd albums.
But that was the reason why though, like the music industry was really against the MP3 movement, was because of that.
Yeah.
Like suddenly, you had this limit. Well, I mean, not unlimited, but you certainly had a large bandwidth of space in order to, put, more music on one CD, and everyone's like going crazy over that because even to this day, we adhere to an album being anywhere between 10 to 12 songs, maybe 13, right? And there's no reason for that number to exist anymore. But that is exactly what people still adhere to whenever, you talk about releasing an album.
Unless they do deluxe, like Gorillaz, where they do deluxe editions, and then all of a sudden it's like
but
18
the thing
albums.
About deluxe things have remixes. It has outtakes,
has a lot of remixes,
B-sides, and honestly, they're very confusing.
Yeah.
Like deluxe, I like deluxe mixes, but at the same time, they're very confusing.
Yeah, I agree.
What happens is, like, when you look at, like, for example, a discography, you're trying to think like, okay, well, do you have this many albums? Like, no, you won't. A band that had Nirvana is a good example. How many albums did they actually officially release? Like 3 or 4?
Let's see. There's Bleach. Yeah. There's Nevermind. Yeah. There's In Utero.
Yeah.
And then there's the Unplugged.
And you're missing one there.
In Bloom?
No. In Bloom is a song from Nevermind. Yeah. No, I'm talking. But mind you, now like there's like there's deluxe editions of it, and there's also like compilation collections, and it almost feels like there's a lot more albums that there really, really was. In fact, there was only probably 4 albums.
Yeah, Nevermind, Bleach, In Utero. And that's about it. The other ones are all like different stuff. And
so those 3, and those 3 were really their only albums. And then, but again, I think deluxe editions sort of confuse it. Now, I'm not complaining, and it sounds like I'm complaining, but honestly, a band that is good, you want to hear more stuff from them. So, of course, more power,
of course.
But back to the nostalgia thing. I'm going to say this: people are nostalgic for the physical media of it. I think ultimately, I hope the lesson people take from it is that we do need to have and own stuff, because right now the video game industry is going through this, and it's scary.
Yeah, I don't like how it's what are you actually buying? And you're licensing just to be able to use it for a little bit, and then they can take it away from you whenever they want. It's sad. Like they took away Fortnite from the phones, from the iPhones.
Really?
Yeah, they took them away a while back because Epic was not happy with the fact that they were not getting their slice of the pie from Fortnite. Not Epic, Apple. Apple was mad at Epic because Epic wanted to basically tell people, oh, go buy these V-Bucks and then you could just charge it and that's it. And Apple was like, well, are we getting into that money? They're like, no, it doesn't go through your store. It goes through our store. They did not like that. So they had a big lawsuit. They lost here, but they won in Europe. In Europe, Epic won. Here they lost.
Yeah.
Now, finally, because of another lawsuit that Apple had not so long ago, which they lost here in the States, they have no choice to reinstate the Fortnite into Apple and into the Apple Store. Now, there's still some drama there. Apple had made them basically submit for approval the game. Even though it's already existed, they got to resubmit it.
So it's being like extra petty and douchey.
Yeah, they're being extra petty and douchey. It was announced that it was supposed to come out 2 to 3 weeks ago. It has not come out.
Okay.
Because Apple has not finished approval. So now Epic pulled the game and resubmitted with some new stuff. And now Apple's like, well, we don't know how long it's going to take.
Because we need to
reevaluate. It's just basically they're just mad that they lost. It's kind of like how the new Apple phones have USB-C here in the States, and they're acting like it's a great feature. We always wanted this, which is not true. The fact is they lost a case in Europe where in Europe they passed a law where all phones have to have a universal connection, universal plug.
Because it was anti-consumer.
Yeah, it really is anti-consumer. It really is. So Apple was like, no, we want to use our crappy lightning cable, which break every 5 minutes, and then finally the European Union said, no, you guys got to go USB-C. So they're like, God damn it, we lost. So they just said, well, we'll just release all the new phones with USB-C just for, cost issues. So now they're like pretending like it's a big, it's a win. Yay.
So the thing about that is, I don't know the specifics, but Apple kind of doubled down over the years on their unique connecting system, because on one hand, they wanted it to be unique because they wanted to own the patents of it, and they wanted to be able to control like what peripherals, because there's a whole market there, an aftermarket for that, and they were very specific about licensing all of that. But at the same time, the technology, while it was really good in terms of how it, because like when if you remember the iPod and it had that long white connector, it was actually pretty fast for the time.
7-prong one,
it was really fast.
Yeah, it was
compared to anything else that was on the market.
Yeah.
It took years before something else was comparable to it.
Yeah,
and when the FireWire came out, it was faster for a little bit. To USB 3.0, I think at the time.
Yeah,
it was faster, but eventually, like it caught, those things caught up, and a lot of it was because iPhone was very anti-innovation in that regard, because they wanted to hold on to the patents
as long as possible.
Yeah, and so now, it's been found, and it's good that you want to give people that option to have a universal cable, because on one hand, it makes things cheaper, more accessible, and on the other hand, it also makes it so the technology is more evenly. Well, it's more vetted, and it's able to be like all the different phones can use it, and it can be
universal.
What's the word? Besides universal, they're in
compatible.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. I can't even think.
That's okay. That's a weekday.
But Nintendo is like a notorious company that's anti, this thing there. And the reason why is because in Japan, they've completely embraced it. And we've talked about this before, where it's illegal to modify your technology in Japan in any way. They will arrest you, and they will actively come after you if they find out. So one of the things was like Game Boys, for example. Years ago, there was a business that it popped up in Japan where you can send your 3DS and they would do some stuff to it, and essentially you could connect an HDMI wire in the back, put it on your TV, and play it on your TV. It would basically broadcast it really clean, really beautiful. But eventually they got rid of it, and it became really expensive. Like the ones that were in the market, I think they cost like $500-$600 at the time. Jeez. It was expensive as hell. Crazy. Now, Nintendo, while still enforcing that copyright in Japan, they're not as financially litigious. They still go after people, but before they would charge you for every violation. And now the violations are less because, I mean, I don't know if it's a signal that Nintendo sort of gets that this is bad. I don't think so. I just think it's more just like it's useless to really go after it because people are doing it anyways.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, there was a when the iPhone 12 came out, right? And obviously we're farther now into the generations, but when iPhone 12 came out, Apple completely made it impossible that if you were to take all the guts out of an iPhone and put it into another iPhone, basically the same exact model and everything, but if you did that, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It would not work, no matter how perfect you did the transfer of all of the guts of the phone. And when people found that out, they sued them. Mm-hmm. A lot of that Biden stuff that happened a few years back that took a while for it to take charge here was a response to the iPhone 12 fiasco.
Yeah,
because it's crazy. Apple is very much restrictive. They don't want you to open it up. They don't want you to fix it. They don't want you to change the battery. They don't want you to do nothing.
They want you to buy a new one when you start not liking the one you have.
Yeah, and that's expensive as hell, man. I mean, my phone right now, this is an iPhone 12, but look how jacked up this thing is. Like it's all broken and cracked back here because I've dropped it too many times. And but if I wanted to, I mean, it still works, which is great. But if I wanted to get it like replacing parts, it would be difficult because even
it would cost you more to fix it than to just replace it with a new one.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Well, do you remember for the long time though, they would restrict battery life. They would covertly they would make it so that your battery would
it still does that. And they said supposedly it has to do something with the software because it's the processor doesn't handle the new software, which is BS.
But it's significantly less than it was before.
Oh yeah,
because I'm going to give you an example. This iPhone 12, I can still charge it to 100%. And mind you, I use this a lot, right? But I can still charge it to 100% and it'll still last me all day. Yeah. But if you remember, prior to the iPhone 12s, like after I want to say 6 to 7 months, you would lose about 20% of that charge. So if you did it like 100%, pretty much like 4 hours later, it'd already be down at 15%. Something like that. Where now, honestly, I can leave my house in the morning and the phone will stay between 50 to 60% up until like 3 o'clock, and then by maybe 9 o'clock, it's at 10%.
Dang.
So it's an all day thing, which is pretty great. Obviously, if I'm using it for like Instagram or whatever, it's going to go down a little faster. But I think a lot of it was because they got caught.
Yeah.
But you're right. They're still doing it.
Yeah.
But not as egregious as before.
Like still Facebook is still listening in, iPhones are still listening in and giving you ads to what you talk about.
That's scary.
You know what's funny? That just happened to me today with my wife. She was telling me about the meme that she saw earlier, and she's like, "Oh yeah, have you seen that meme about that guy where it's like?" Because we were talking about going traveling to a hotel and like all this stuff, and then she was telling me how, isn't it funny how like you can get up early enough for like breakfasts if you have to or something like that. I'm paraphrasing the conversation, but she was basically telling me how like in hotels their complimentary breakfasts are usually like at 7 a.m, and it's like, who really gets up at 7 a.m? And then I told her, well, I would at 7 a.m. because it's 7 a.m. And she started laughing. She's like, oh, there's this meme where I saw where it's like at 9 a.m. at home and it shows a guy sleeping, and then it says at 7 a.m. at a hotel and he's up with like a bunch of plates of food. And I laughed it off, and no big deal. That's it. We stopped to watch Dark Side of the 2000s, which is a documentary from Vice TV. And I'm scrolling through my phone at 3:35, and I notice this picture, which I'm going to put there. Now, I don't follow this guy, as you can tell from the picture. Like, I'm putting it up there. I'm showing it to him here. I don't follow the guy or anything. So it just came up on my thing. It's exactly the meme that she was talking about. I did not type anything. I did not say anything. Okay, it was just her explaining this meme to me. I laughed it off, and then all of a sudden it's on my Facebook like that.
All right, but here's my thing though. This person, Penny Pinchon Globetrotter, is
Penny Pinchon Globetrotter. Yeah. She doesn't follow him, by the way.
I'm calling it Penny Pinchon because the guy looks like you'll see in the picture. He looks Mexican. So, anyways, I got it.
So
my question though on this is this meme. You talking about it? I mean, how did it know which exact meme? Unless like they're doing some AI thing, because that's really weird. I would imagine.
I'm sorry. Facebook has Meta AI now.
Okay,
it's a whole thing. It's now in control of everything.
So then, but here's my question though. Then, how, like, what benefit is them showing you this. I can understand targeted ads, like if I'm talking about like tarot cards, right? Which I was recently because I bought this really cool book. I think I mentioned it last time, but it's called Zolar's Encyclopedia of Ancient and Forbidden Knowledge, and I had like an older version of it, and I found this one through a thrift book. It's really cool. Anyways, I wanted to learn a little bit about tarot cards, and then suddenly on my Amazon Prime, a day later, I started seeing, ads for tarot cards. That makes sense to me.
Did you search it up?
No. I just talked about it.
Okay, that makes sense because you talked about it. And you think that's okay.
So my phone was hearing me, and I'm sure everyone out there has a lot of examples of that.
Yeah, I had one where I went to PetSmart and I said, "Oh, look, glowfish," and then the next day Facebook was showing me ads for glowfish, which I never looked at. But that makes sense. But now they're doing this
for memes. But I don't understand because why? Where is what driver does this what is it? What is the outcome? Because you see the meme, but is that going to make more money for the people in the?
I think what it is that person penny pinching Globetrotter basically paid a Facebook to get them more subscribers. So I think the minute that they heard this, boom, and then now they have more followers. More content for themselves.
That makes sense. I mean, I'm usually very anti-conspiracy, but that's not conspiracy. That sounds like exactly the model of a business that wants to drive both income and give people more views for income. So there you go.
Now, before we go, because time's up, but I do want to mention a few things. First of all, TikTok has gone downhill. I don't think we'll be posting on TikTok anymore. They are now shadow banning everybody across the board, and they're just lifting them if you agree to include their merchandise, their TikTok shop merchandise on their on your page. So they want you to start, depending on how many followers you have, they won't help you at all unless you sign up to their shop. They're trying to sell their tchotchkes through their TikTok.
Can I say that I hate how we're so notorious as people to like shorthand everything. Like remember back when we were kids, like every video game was a Nintendo. Like, are you playing Nintendo? And like, no, mom, I'm playing Genesis. Yeah, you're playing Nintendo. Hey, right? Or like, oh man, I have a Band-Aid on my hand. It's like, no, it's not Band-Aid. It's adhesive like bandage strip because it's not branded.
As a brand. Or when you go and you get those cheap like Chinese building blocks and you call them Legos. It's like, no, they're not Legos.
Yeah. So then I guess my question then there is like, for a while there, people were referring to shopping. They would say, oh, I got it at the TikTok shop. And I was thinking in my head, like, what the frig is that? What is a TikTok shop? I thought it was just people like saying that they bought it online because they might have seen somebody advertising it on TikTok, and then they went out of their way. So like if, for example, I saw something on TikTok, which I've done before, and I'd be like, I want this, and I'll go to Amazon to find it. I find it. I end up buying it. So I'll be like, I bought it at the TikTok shop,
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I didn't know they actually had a shop until lately. Crazy. So ever since they came back because of the hijinks and all that stuff that happened, now they're pushing all their tchotchkes, Chinese tchotchkes, through the TikTok shop. So that's one thing I want to add real quick.
Yeah, well, you know what, dude, I'm fine with that. I think in general, like after the whole fiasco with Donald Trump and how he he saved it, and then they released that note.
Thanks for Donald Trump.
Where it was so cringy. I don't use TikTok that much anyway.
I don't either.
Every now and then I might pop on, but it's very rare. So I don't rely on it. Same thing with Twitter. I don't go on Twitter.
I deleted my Twitter a long time ago.
I deleted it. Sometimes though, I'll go there because like an article will redirect you to it. But I'm still waiting for this thing to die. Like why are people still posting on there? Like Instagram and does their own version, which is pretty good. I don't understand why people
Threads.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I honestly
I found some interesting stuff on there.
The problem with Twitter is that for a while there, and I know that it's all driven by algorithms and stuff, but for a while there, it got really dark, dude. Like all of it, like I can't tell you how quickly I went from watching an action movie and clips or people posting to it suddenly turning into like real murders that were happening all over the world. And if you just clicked on one because of the curiosity, it suddenly you were bombarded with it. Yeah. Same thing with nudity. Like if for example, there was like an influencer who just happens to also do OnlyFans. I like the influencer because she has a lot of video game content from Italy, but suddenly I'm getting bombarded with other girls from OnlyFans again, dude, I like the girls are pretty, but I'm just saying though, it's crazy how quickly that's the algorithm that's working really hard. I mean, I'm sure Instagram, you guys can all like bombard me saying that they do the same thing, but Twitter just felt more egregious because it became nudity really fast and stuff really fast. Like, mind you, if I'm at work and I happen to see one, like, I don't want to, like, somebody inadvertently see it. So I don't do social media from work if I can help it, but it's a scary thought. And so Twitter, I don't mess with Twitter anymore either.
No, I agree. I deleted mine a long time ago. I don't even bother. I have Threads. I rarely use that, but there's some interesting stuff. It's getting better. Okay. But that's the one thing I wanted to talk about. The second one is, my apologies. I did screw up, and I just found out yesterday. I was in such a hurry to release the last episode that I only released the video version, not the audio version. So this Saturday, I'll be releasing both this episode and the previous episode audio versions. Oh. So you guys that listen to us only audio have a little, extra, I guess. Sorry.
Well, couldn't you would it be more prudent than to release like the new one? And no, actually, it's so confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier because I literally found out yesterday when I was getting ready for this, and I'm like, oh my, like I screwed up. And I told my wife, and she's like, how'd that happen? I spent so much time editing the video version that I completely glossed over the audio version. And I was like, oh man. So this time, it's set to go. So it's going to come out Saturday, but so is this episode. So they're going to be, audio's going to take priority, and then video will be released either Saturday evening or maybe at the same time. I don't know. Let's see how good I go with this. It depends.
Cool.
So just wanted to talk about that. And then of course, you're going to have Cruel Summer this Saturday? Is that right? So
last Saturday, I mentioned I went to Just Like Heaven. This coming up Saturday, I'm supposed to go to Cruel World. And at Cruel World, I'm excited to see Devo, Nick
Cave.
What?
Nick Cave?
Yeah, Nick Cave and Bad Seeds. Yeah. So that's going to be cool. And
nice.
OMD. It's a lot of cool bands. So I'm looking forward to that. But what I'm hoping is the weather's better. I hear it might be, but
it is. I'm actually going to since we're taking off Saturday, we decided to go. I had a dentist appointment for the afternoon, and I canceled that. Instead, I'm going to get more cavities because I'm going to the LA County Fair.
Cool.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
And there's bands that play there too. Any cool bands that are going to be playing that you know of?
You know what? I did not look this year because since I have the little ones, I'm not going to sit through a concert with them, and I don't want to get my hopes up. But sure. They usually have some great ones. I know a couple years ago they had Shaka Khan. They had LL Cool J as well. They've had Tone Loc. Yeah. That was pretty cool. I heard Tone Loc when I was actually working at the fair.
Yeah.
I saw Tone Loc. That was pretty cool.
The OC Fair, the Orange County Fair, man. Now they would get down. They had like tons of really. They always have really great.
I heard it's smaller though. Like the actual fairground is smaller than the LA County Fair.
It is smaller, but the music
is better.
Is much better. They have
I figured
they've had like cover bands as well as like established bands. It's really cool.
Well, one pet peeve. We've been going to the LA County Fair forever. The one pet peeve I have now is in the last couple of years, it's like, those Scooby-Doo chase scenes where they keep going to the same background over and over again.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the vendors now these years. Like it'll be like, oh look, like there's some hats, some tchotchkes, anime tchotchkes. There's some food, some hats, tchotchkes, anime. It's like it's the same thing over and over again, which is kind of
fried something.
Yeah, deep fried donut burgers and all that stuff. But
do you get like some of the Southern California name brands that go out there, like for example like Pink's Hot Dogs or Tommy's Burgers or In-N-Out?
No,
because I know the OC does that. The OC Fair did do that where they would have some of those people show up.
The one that they do have like they used to have, I don't know if they do anymore, Tacos Mexico they used to have there, and they used to have and they still do hot dog on a stick. That's pretty popular.
Cool.
So they're the only ones really that are like the big branch ones, and then the rest of them are kind of like just carny food that comes along that's actually really good, expensive but good. They've had some great food there, so my stomach's looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
So one thing that I want to put out on the air, and maybe if any people who watch chime in like in the comments and stuff, like ideas of things that we might want to either talk about or react to. And one of the things that I want to float by you, Angel, so it'd be cool, like if we can do like some live reactions, and then you can have like the videos like play here, so we can watch it. We can watch it on our screen here.
Totally,
but then,
and then I could
I mean, obviously, here's the thing, guys. Like, okay, I know that this is like old. People have been doing this sort of thing for 20 years and stuff, but for us, this video stuff is all new, and we're excited. So we're gonna act like it's like we just discovered sliced bread, like we just made the first mayo discovery. Like, dude, like we're basically like Marco Polo up in this biatch. So here we go.
And on that note, anything else to add?
No, that's it, man. I'm just happy to always do this show with you, man. And let's keep it going. Although at some point, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about this bad boy.
Once he finishes,
really enjoying it. Yeah.
I just want to say one more time, thank you for Undercity for hosting us. Thank you to the nerds for letting us borrow their shindigs here. Love you guys. You guys
Keeping up with the nerds. Please watch them. They're great. I love their content.
Everyone but Brian. I hate Brian. No, I'm just kidding. He's the best. And then also I want to give a quick shout out to Into the Void. I'm going to be doing some stuff with him.
I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be pretty good. There may be some ghosts in the water. That's all I want to say.
I always liked in the summer. I love talking about ghost stuff in the summer. Dude.
Oh, we will be touching about. Yeah, we'll be doing the things that go out in the night. Part 3.
I'm looking forward to that one.
3, whatever.
Yeah, we got to make up for no Ouchamania.
Yeah. Oh, brother.
Yeah, so long to that.
Remember, boys and girls. Yeah. Tickle my pickle. And never make eye contact while eating banana.